Welcome back to Rappahannock Issues Election Night Special. We've been getting some defining results from Stafford and Spotsylvania County. And one I'm going to bring up right now, with 96% of the vote in, is for the Commonwealth's attorney's race. Eric Olson has 69%. 69 or is that 64? 64%, excuse me. Sometimes my eyes fail me. And Tim Barbaro has 35%. Now, my cohort here is very cautious about calling elections. But with 96% in and a 64% lead, I think we can call this one for Eric Olson.
Yeah, and that was an interesting race because it was Eric Olson. There was people remember the FBI trial that they had to go 3 times. And so I know Olson is a very big fan of doing jury trials, which sometimes takes a little bit of time, and there's a little bit more guesswork as to what will happen. Barbaro was making a big issue of that aspect as well as his success rate and whatnot. And he did have a harder ground game this time than he did 4 years ago.
I'm actually surprised that there isn't a better Barbaro percentage there. I think there were some issues that he did hammer on. I just don't think he had the money to reach as far or the name recognition.
Yeah, and had far more signs this time than I remember last time. In the clerk of courts race in Stafford County, we have 100% of the vote in, and Kathy Stern gets 73% of the vote, and Ms. Scadota has 26% of the vote. So I think we can actually call that one because it's 100% of the vote. And so again, it's sort of, Stafford County is traditionally a Republican county. Maybe in presidential years or Senate races or whatnot, it gets a little closer, but we're seeing, particularly in an off-year election, that the Republicans tend to do a little bit better.
And also incumbents in the courthouse, historically, I mean, you go back, it's hard to find any incumbent in the last 50 years in Stafford County in the courthouse who has lost a seat. If you really want to find somebody who almost, you have to go back to the 1950s.
Okay.
And that's a long time.
Yep, it is, before me. So we'll move to the Senate.
We won't comment on that.
Yeah, really. The Senate races, and again, this is, right now the Republicans hold a 1-seat majority in the Senate. And after some rather interesting events last year where the Republicans got a seat, and so they have both houses, the House and the Senate. And so they have stymied the governor in a lot of his efforts. And so the governor has been trying. He has raised a lot of money, but oddly enough, not that much more than McDonnell raised when McDonnell was governor and tried to get.
It's actually almost a parallel situation, and it's not that different. You don't have much deciding this outcome, and the opportunities for the Democrats to actually grab control of the Senate, which would make a big difference because they've got Lieutenant Governor Northam there to break the tie votes. You get 20-20. He breaks the tie, and you effectively have Democratic control of the state Senate. But they still have to pick up 2 seats.
Well, they need 1 seat to get that 20-20. But the interesting thing is, the governor's been pushing the Medicaid expansion, and yes, you could do that with a 20-20 vote with the lieutenant governor voting for it. But the funding of it, as we saw when there was a 20-20 split in Lieutenant Governor Bowling, was the wood tiebreaker. The lieutenant governor cannot vote on the budget and break the tie in the budget. So you could say, yes, the governor could get his way on Medicaid, but then not get it funded. So there are, and I know we'll be talking to Mr. Farnsworth, Dr. Farnsworth later in the evening, and he's really big on gerrymandering. There are 8. There's only 40 seats in the Senate. 8 of them are Democrats who are uncontested, and 10 of them are Republicans that are uncontested. So you're talking a large number of seats that have nobody. And then if you sort of narrow it down, there's, as Dick Armstrong pointed out, there are only a handful of races that are even, the ones that sort of watch. There's only a couple open seats. One's in Henrico. One is in Prince William County, and part of Fairfax. And then one out, I believe, is out in Roanoke. And so there's only a handful that they're really watching.
And it's interesting. You mentioned a couple of those. There are open seats where, in one case, it's a Republican who's retiring, and another where there's a Democrat retiring. Chuck Colgan has represented the 29th District Senate seat. And imagine that as being sort of a swath right through the middle of Prince William County, from I-66 to I-95. And it's a race the Democrats generally should be in a good position to win, but the Republican opponent is a fellow named Hal Parrish. His father was a longtime member of the House of Delegates. He was also a mayor of Manassas. His son, Hal Parrish Jr., is also the mayor of Manassas, and Manassas tends to be a Democratic city. He's running against another name pretty well known, Jeremy Pike. He works up in Alexandria. He's been pinned a little bit with the I-66 toll lanes that the governor wants to start running, very similar to our 95 toll lanes, which are, as most people know, not very popular. And this has hurt the McPike campaign. So this may be one of those seats, if it goes to the Republicans, that's pretty much the end of the Democrats' hopes for picking up the Senate. It is hanging on that thin a razor edge.
Right. And that's sort of interesting because the toll lane thing has sort of come up and really caught some salience. The 12th district, which is Henrico County, has a three-way race with the Democrat rep, a Republican Donovan, and then there's an independent named Johnson. And basically, the Republican has a lot of money. That's an open seat. And for Henrico County, they sort of would feel that that might be an area that the Democrats could have a chance of picking up. But they really haven't put a lot of resources in there. Rep only had $64,000 last reporting, whereas the Republican had $563,000. If we get a chance, we had some students at VCU and at Randolph-Macon who made video clips sort of describing those districts. And so if we get a chance, we'll air some of those because they're rather good insightful way of profiling the race. So as we're heading into a break now. We have a couple races in Stafford that are pretty well set up. We're getting a few more results in. So when we come back from the break, we should have some more results for you. And welcome, come back. And we also invite you that if you ever would like to be a donor or a sponsor of CVTV, particularly Rappahannock Issues, certainly the station would love to hear from you.
CVTVnetwork.net.
Cool. All right, we'll come back after this break and we'll have some more results.